Hello everyone, and welcome again to Stags Talk. It's that time of week. It certainly comes around fast, and luckily again we've got another week where there's plenty to talk about. Of course, Stags were in action over the weekend, 4-3 defeat at Barrow, which we'll discuss at length. We'll also look at transfer news, injury updates, general playoff promotion picture around League One as the transfer window starts to really get in full swing. And joined as ever by nodding ahead lovely there, Georgia. I can tell you're up for this one.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. It's always good when it's been a bit quiet and then we've actually got things to discuss, because we've got obviously Barrow, bit of transfer news from Clough, and some injury updates as well we'll sprinkle in. And I know you're eager to dissect the top 6 predictions as well, which I'm excited to hear about. So
yeah, it feels like it's taking shape a bit more. Interesting times ahead. So yeah, we'll start with the first things first, as we do on Saturday. 4-3 defeat to Barrow. I know you was quite surprised by the scoreline, having led 2-0 at half time, and then a 4-3 defeat. Scoreline doesn't particularly matter. What did we learn from it, if anything?
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it, where it's nothing to really think too much into. But Michael Smith got his first goal, which is always a good sign in pre-season. Regan Hendry with the other goal for Stags. But then, yeah, it all just kind of fell to bits in the second half, didn't it? Conceded 4, which is never kind of good to see. Saw a lot of the comments saying fans preferred the first lineup in the first half to the second. So I don't know whether that played a part in it. But it's early days. It's seeing who the players work well with. And Nigel did say afterwards he doesn't want any player playing a full 90 minutes. So that's why the rotation is so heavy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fitness exercise, isn't it? And it's all about fitness. And this is the thing with pre-season, that teams are at different stages of their preparation. And Barrow have played, I don't know how many games it was before, Barrow have played more than Barrow's second game. So they're players better shape. And perhaps one thing it showed for me is the importance of getting your fitness levels right. I mean, obviously it doesn't matter at pre-season level, but if you go into the first game of the season where your fitness levels are not quite up to Doncaster's, or Doncaster's not quite up to Mansfield, your last 10-15 minutes of the season can certainly tell can certainly tell and have a key bearing on the result, perhaps. So you've got to get it bang on.
Yeah, for sure. And I wanted to mention Nathan Marai-Welsh, who got 2 assists.
Yeah.
I just wanted to chat about him briefly, because towards the back end of last season, every time I saw him at the one call, I was really impressed with the shifts that he put in. And yet I feel he's not really classed as a nailed-on starter. Like, do you think he's working towards that now? Or
It's about consistency for me, because I didn't think he played very well against Retford. He just seemed to... He was very keen to get forward, and he got a lot of the ball, but far too often he gave the ball away. And I think at this level, you've got to be better in possession, make it count more. Obviously, he certainly did that against Barrow. So, but you have to have that consistency. You can't be hot and cold when you are in a regular starting place in such a competitive squad as Stags. So he has the ability, but he has to kind of show it on a more regular footing, I think, now.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Is that they're starting to kind of stack the squad up a bit more, and these places aren't guarantees. I think it was either McGoldrick or Smith, but I imagine the conversation's been had with the pair of them. But they were told that, coming into this team, you're not going to be guaranteed a starting position every single week. And that is how it is, because there's a lot of players to consider. And I think that's what makes Stags such a good side, is that there is that constant carousel of players you can rotate between if and when you need them to.
I wonder how many of the players are actually nailed on as definite starters every week. William Roberts, obviously, without a doubt, and you're probably looking at Deji. Yeah, I know what you're saying. That yeah, it's a squad game for a reason. There's 46 games, however many cup games. It's a tough old season, and it's a really competitive season, and he's going to be needed. But as with everyone, they've got to shine when they get a chance. And we're seeing Taylor and Hartman coming through as well, the two younger players that have come into the squad, and they've given a good account of themselves in pre-season. So even more competition for places.
Yeah, and interestingly as well, is Evans scored in the second half. And I know we discussed him last week, and you said you aren't really sure what the next season holds for him. Is he kind of, putting his stake in, saying, "Start me"? Like, what's
Well, yeah, I think it's dangerous to read more into this sort of one good goal or one decent performance, whatever, in a pre-season game. I think everyone is going to be ready to go, and everyone is going to get their opportunity. But I still can't change my view on Evans. He'll give you everything, but he's not going to be a starter. He's not going to be a regular starter. I can't see. You don't bring two strikers in like that. Another midfield option. You don't play him kind of left wing back in an almost experimental role. If he's got a regular up top starting position, can't see it.
And that's fair
And
enough.
you?
There's no, I agree. I mean, I think it was already towards the end of last season. Evans and Oates, I feel, are and were key players. But there was times where neither of them started, or one started with the other, and they weren't this kind of nailed on duo that they might have looked like prior in the season.
Yeah.
And especially with keeping hold of Tyler Roberts, who I know is rated highly at Stags. It will be interesting to see what the more go-to attack is going to look like. But I don't think you're wrong in what you say. And, Will's a great player. He's a real workhorse. And he's one of those players who, if you stick him somewhere, he'll make the absolute best of it. But in terms of, an attacker, as you say, you don't bring in these kind of players and make sure Russell comes back and Tyler Roberts stays, and not kind of have them in the main plans.
Yeah, top end League One, your top 10 League One level. He's not going to get you enough goals, and I don't think he's going to cause enough of a mischief to get these, to get assists and create other chances. He's a good player, but Stags have stepped it up in the siding. The squad's stepping up, and I say he's an Aaron Lewis, Mr. Dependable, but Mister isn't going to quite cut the mustard, unfortunately, as much as we like him, as much as we admire him as a player. It's the reality of football, isn't it? And just coming on to sort of the transfer rumours, obviously Stags looking for another midfielder. One's fallen through.
Yes, it has. So obviously Clough confirmed after the game that the pursuit of the midfielder, who has been unnamed by the club, has fallen through. But there was a report that I saw from an account called Derby Digest who say it is Liam Thompson from Derby County. I don't know the truth in that. That's the first I've seen of it, but interesting to see. And the account actually said, I got a quote here that said, he's not quite good enough for us or where we want to be. Mansfield would have been the perfect chance for him to go out and play consistently. And it sounds like Clough says they've hit a stumbling block with the club and the agent, so that's kind of old news now. But there's someone else on the radar, but again, no name.
Yeah, it's interesting when we look at kind of the current state of the transfer market, and Mansfield always go for these players. The promise, the players that have been there and done it with experience, but the players that ultimately are coming for free might be a bit more of a wage, but they don't really pay much. And I find it really interesting when you're looking around the league at the moment. Doncaster just signed or about to sign Isaac Hutchinson from Bristol Rovers for an undisclosed six-figure fee. You can imagine, that's a fairly similar, I would say, kind of stature and club size and whatever to Mansfield. You couldn't imagine Mansfield shelling out £100,000.
There's always good free agents to pick up, and Nigel said himself he was surprised Michael Smith was available, and David McGoldrick. It wasn't a secret that there was multiple clubs in for him. So yeah, you don't always have to be spending money, but it seems, this context by this Derby site seems to suggest that the club or the agent wanted a fee.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. I'm not saying splashing cash is the way to go. I've done comments previously, and I say, look at last season, Plymouth, Luton, Huddersfield, to name but three, splashed the cash, got nowhere. Stevenage, I don't think they spent a penny last season, finished sixth. Alex Rebel, Stevenage earlier on in the window, saying how difficult it is to attract players and bring them in, and how competitive the League One market is getting. Obviously, Stags have a bit better profile than Stevenage, I'd suggest, but you look at Plymouth are about to sell Tollard, I think £4 million. Leighton Orient about to sell Ballard. I've heard £4 million mentioned there. Leicester's just sold the winger to Ipswich, assuming medical goes through, for 20 million quid. There's an awful lot of cash about in League One, cash that Mansfield do not have.
This is the thing, and it's one of those where would this guy have been a player they were willing to spend money on? Quite clearly not, if the deal has fallen through. So yeah, they are super keen on a midfielder because the manager said they have another option in their sights. So yeah, hopefully they get that one over the line. But yeah, shame because they were on a bit of a roll, weren't they? It was 2 for 2 with the rumours. And then this third one just hasn't come to fruition. But they're not giving up, and they want this next midfielder.
Yeah, they're on to another target. Nigel said, didn't he? There's, I guess you have a list, and you have your main man that falls through. You go next down to pecking order, and whoever that might be. So I guess work is going on behind the scenes up in Scotland on that player, and watch this space. But it's a really interesting transfer market this season. There never seems to be so much. It's a knockdown effect. Excuse me, from the Premier League and whatever, and you look at obviously Leicester's get all the money they've had, then they get more money from the switch, and Bristol City seem to be splashing the cash. There's an awful lot of money that's floating down to the lower leagues. It's a shame in some ways Mansfield haven't got a 5 million quid that they can sell and then kind of buy 3 or 4 more players with it.
Yeah, it would be a game changer, wouldn't it? But yeah, as you say, there's loads of transfer rumours and deals flying around. And it seems Stags fans are keen on a midfielder themselves. I picked out a couple of comments from our Facebook, and someone said, it made me laugh, Bellingham isn't coming after all then, which I thought was quite funny. That was Lee Bowers. And then Paul Harrison has said, we need a quality midfielder who can control the game, see and make passes. There's John Russell, there's Lewis Reed, but yeah, you can't rely on. It's a long season, as you say, and there's multiple competitions, and you need to give these guys legs a break. There definitely needs to be just a little bit more firepower in there.
You've got to be as fresh as you can going. If the season is to go on the trajectory that we hope it will do, then in the last 10 games of the season, you need as many players to feel as fresh as you can. You don't want to go into the last 10 where you've got 10 players out injured and the ones that are injured feel half dead. So it's it's managing the squad. It's getting the right blend of depth and the quality. And like I said earlier, so everyone is going to play their part. On the transfer window, Sheffield Wednesday are one that are particularly busy right now. As we've said, they need to be in previous shows with having such a thin squad on their in their relegation season. They've signed 8 players now. So I know previous shows I kind of said I don't really think they're going to be a top 6 side. I said they needed to do business. They've certainly done that. I think I have to revise that now, and you can see them being a real threat. I think it'd be a shame and a disappointment if Leicester and Wednesday just walked the top 2 slots. It'd be a sad indictment of football, and I'm not sure that's going to happen. But they're certainly going to be a big factor now, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we discussed it when we were talking about a supercomputers, a load of nonsense, or they to be taken seriously. And I think putting Leicester and Wednesday as the top 2 were the easy options because the size of the clubs, the history of the clubs, and it just makes sense on paper. But you have to factor into other things. And, there's teams like Luton, Plymouth, who are really fancied to challenge right up there. There's obviously the ongoing conversation about Stags top 6. I think there's nothing wrong with the argument that they should be pushing for top 6. It's just whether they will get there, because I do think the competition this season's going to be huge. I definitely fancy maybe like a 7th or 8th, but can they squeeze into the 6th is the burning question.
$1 million question, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think we're both in agreement that Leicester are clearly going to, I don't know if I say romp it, probably will romp it, but Leicester will certainly win it. Yeah. I've been Plymouth all the way, but now they're selling tall lads. They're losing a lot of goals, and he was a big key in what they're doing. And I kind of see them. I'm not so sure about them anymore. I've seen Luton now as that team for second. They've signed Casey Palmer on a permanent after his loan spell last season. He's maybe even best player in the league. Nigel said he was last season, and I'm not sure he's anyone's trumped that one, but he's certainly one of the best, if not the best. So I kind of see Luton as second. Wednesday being the playoffs. I'm fancying Bradford to be in the playoffs. No reason why Mansfield can't, as we keep saying. I won't say it hinges on what this new midfielder is going to be, but it's certainly going to be interesting to see. I think you've seen enough of Smith to know there's going to be he's going to bring good goals and a good threat, and that's all that Mansfield were missing last season in many ways. So,
yeah,
a bit too early to say in it, but it's got to be kind of 6th or 10th, I think.
Yeah, and I think it will be, and again, it's going all the way back to changing those 0-0s to 1-0 wins, and it's whether someone like Smith and McGoldrick could do that. And it leads me on to the fact that obviously there's an ongoing joke that Clough loves an older player. The fans make reference to it every single time. And yeah, there was something I'm just finding now, something that came through which was interesting. So stats say that Stags have the oldest squad in English professional football at an average of 30.6 years old. That's quite an achievement. But this guy, the apparent midfielder target from Derby, I looked him up. He's 24. And I know that there'll be some fans say like too young, too young for us. But it is one of those where, and that's where you get into the conversation about fitness, is do you think they should be targeting a younger midfielder to add into these senior strikers, or is it just it really doesn't matter how old they are?
Makes no difference to me. Age is just a number. As long as you're fit and you're strong. And in central midfield as well, if they're looking for kind of a bustling holding midfielder that kind of sits in there, and then by definition you surely don't need a super attacking. You don't need someone that's like a super quick, super moving. You're not signing a winger. You're signing someone that's going to sit in that midfield slot and be the general. So it doesn't matter if you're good enough. They say if you're good enough, you're old enough. So if you're good enough, you're young enough. It works both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see who they do bring in. Because I think that'll be where they stop then, isn't it? I think that was it. They wanted some more attackers and the midfield, and then that's it. So if that gets wrapped up over the next couple of weeks, that's an early 3 and done transfer window.
Absolutely. Kicking the season off, just a quick ad as well, kicking the season off against Doncaster, and it's going to be an interesting one in that they've made 8 signings, I think it is now, when Hutchinson comes from Bristol Rovers. So they've had quite a bit of turnover this summer, and it just throws up what Nigel said about that, how Mansfield doing the business last year, the squad being settled and strong and steady, and everyone already knowing each other. They've no learning to do. Everyone knows what they're doing. They know the system inside out. They know the teammates inside out. Bit different with Doncaster, perhaps getting to know each other. So maybe a slight advantage there for Stags in the opener. We shall see, obviously, but.
Before we wrap, there was a couple of injury updates from Barrow. There was no David McGoldrick or Elliot Hewitt, but they're carrying slight knocks, according to Nigel, but nothing really to be worried about. Ryan Sweeney brought off, and he's not quite sure on the extent of that yet. So that's obviously a bit of a murky area.
And interesting to see who came on. Of all people, Stephen Quinn coming on and rolling back the years for those that love watching him in the Mansfield shirt and seeing now what he did for Mansfield in terms of getting the club promoted. Great to see. It's only a 10-minute cameo, getting up against Barrow, but it's a nice little touch to see him come on and see him part of that backroom staff as he is.
And that was always the plan as well, apparently, was to bring him on. So great that he's still an option in that case as well. I feel like many people had written him off, but not quite yet.
No, not quite yet. Brilliant. That's us done and dusted for another week, I think. And as ever, we really appreciate your support in watching us and sending comments in. So if you'd be good enough to like us, subscribe to us and watch us and get involved, we'll be very happy to have you join our debate. That's it for this week. Georgia, it's been a pleasure as always. You guys, thanks so much, and we will see you next week.